We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Strategic issues abound as Israel prepares to deal with attacks on multiple fronts. Does it have the capability? Is America likely to get more involved? And what does this mean for regional stability? And we're very lucky to be joined by a guest that just might be able to shed some light on these questions. A retired Air Force pilot and former Principal Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Controller, I'm sure I got it right that time, Mr. Dave Patterson. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Thank you, Mark. Happy to be with you.
So, Dave, I guess the first question has to be, what is the one that's most important to our majority American audience? What is the likelihood of U.S. troops being on the ground in Israel? Now, I know that Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, he's notified a couple of thousand service members that they need to prepare for duty. But what does this mean in the real world?
Well, I think that possibility is remote at the current time. I don't see a reason for that. We do have probably some special operations forces that are providing advisory services to the Israel Defense Force. But in any numbers, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. The ball is really in Iran's court as to whether or not they foment violence enough in the north or to cause a problem for U.S. equities around the Middle East. And they have said that they might do that. But until that happens, I don't see a significant intervention by the U.S.
Right, because such an intervention would almost certainly be seen by Iran as a public escalation of the situation, right? So at the moment, you mentioned what's happening in northern Israel. There, you're talking about, I guess, Hezbollah, which is Iranian funded, as all of these places tend to be, launching rockets into Israel. But having troops actually on the ground, that would be almost an open affront to Israel, to Iran. And therefore, that would give them the public justification that they've been seeking to get more involved and attack Israel directly. Is that pretty much the situation?
Yeah, I think that would be true. I think that Iran, however, will use any pretense, and
Absolutely.
currently their pretense that they would use is Israel doing a ground attack into Gaza, and they've said this is. And recently, their supreme leader Ali Khamenei, warned Israel to keep up the attacks of violence, and other fronts will be opened against them. And so I think that the focus is on what Israel does, not necessarily what the U.S. does, but the U.S. obviously will be a target as a consequence.
Yeah, the day we're recording this, Israel has not yet launched a ground attack into the regions. And this is on Wednesday, the 18th. President Joe Biden has just been visiting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I think for at least the last 4 days prior to now, Israel has been about to start a ground attack, but has held off. Now, the first day of that, the reason they gave was the weather wasn't right. Now, I can kind of understand that in for example, in Russia, the Russia-Ukraine area. Nobody goes to war in Russia in winter and is gonna survive well there. But since then, there's been some holding off. Now, do you think that holding off is due to the fear of the threats that Israel's making?
Oh, you mean Iran is making, right?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
It's all the eyes in the region.
Honestly, I don't think Israel gives two hoots about what Iran does in terms of their threats. Israel does not want a two-front war, but nonetheless is preparing for a Hezbollah attack. I don't think that that the Israel Defense Force is going to start a ground assault until they're absolutely ready. And the reason for that is urban warfare is probably the most difficult fighting that you can take place. People can hide in all manner of destroyed buildings and behind all kinds of
Civilians, for example, can hide behind
yeah,
and amongst
civilians.
civilians.
Yes, obviously, and so it's very difficult to do it. I mean, and while you're trying to keep the violence against civilians as low as possible. Now, what makes it even more difficult is when Hamas, which they've shown a propensity to do, is to put civilians in the way of shields. But it still is a difficult proposition.
Yeah, you've been writing quite a bit about the carrier groups, strike carrier groups that are operating in the region. That's specifically the USS Gerald Ford and the Eisenhower, and all the ships that go along with them. Now, this is fascinating stuff. You can read about this on the pages of libertynation.com under Dave Patterson's byline there, and it really explains what a ship, because we hear about it on the news and we think, oh, there's a ship going. It's not a ship, is it, Dave? It's not like a
No,
single ship or two ships.
no, it's what it's called. It's a carrier strike group, and normally a carrier strike group will have a carrier, obviously, plus a cruiser, missile cruiser, and four destroyers, missile destroyers, and so that and all of the support ships that go with it, and so you'll have a carrier that can carry up to 70 aircraft, including vertical, helicopters and so forth. But one of the things that it carries, which is really kind of important from a standpoint of not dropping bombs and killing people, is they have the E-2D Hawkeyes, which are basically a command and control aircraft, but they also have a lot of capability for coordinating and helping the Israelis on the ground with the communications. So it is a formidable force, and they also have the AF-18 Growlers that are electronic warfare aircraft, and they put out a lot of electrons and can disrupt the Hamas and Hezbollah communications. So there's a lot of capability there without, dropping bombs on folks.
Yeah, it seems that that's the kind of aid that wouldn't be looked upon by the international community as too much involved. Is in literally because of the command and control crafts, they can see what's happening across the area and provide real-time updates to literally everybody they want, right?
That's right. They have 360-degree radar capability, and so they can keep track of a lot of stuff that's particularly things like the drones that are possible that could come Israel's way. They would be able to see those.
So finally, Dave, Joe Biden, he's obviously been on the diplomatic mission to Israel. CNN said this should be quite a difficult diplomatic situation. I've written about it might be a difficult diplomatic situation. What's your take?
I would say it's not a difficult diplomatic mission. You said that you were supporting Israel, that you would support Israel for its needs, and behind it 100%. I believe the Biden administration likes to coin the phrase ironclad guarantee. And it's going to have to be, because as you can already see in Great Britain, that members of parliament are growing wobbly in their support, and you had 35 members of the members of parliament who said that a ceasefire should be take place right away. Well, there should be no ceasefire, and nobody can grow wobbly on this. Israel was attacked in a horrific fashion, and it's time to get rid of Hamas once and for all, take away this scourge from the world.
Joe Biden might have his mission accomplished statement at the end. Dave Patterson, thanks ever so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com. publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are LibertyNation.com.